Accutron Watches present. From New York City, this is the Accutron Show, a time travel through American culture with your hosts, Bill McCuddy, Scott Alexander, and David Graver. Visit AccutronWatch.com and discover the brand that has made American history with an all-new proprietary next-generation electrostatic energy movement. Accutron. It's not a timepiece, it's a conversation piece.
You know, I developed a specific ritual to make you not have a hangover. And that included ingredients and molecules and scents and extracts that are normally found in every pantry, at home.
You're not ready for this. The person you heard at the top of the show was today's guest. Get this, he's a biochemist, author, molecular biologist, flavor scientist, and healer. He's Alex Ott, and he's someone the New York Times once defined as the sorcerer of shaken and stirred. We shake and stir a little bit on this show. First up, I'm Bill McCuddy, along with writer Scott Alexander, editor David Graver, here for a brand new episode of the Accutron Show. It's going to be a good one. Stay tuned.
This podcast is presented by Accutron Watches. Visit our website, accutronwatch.com, and discover our iconic SpaceView 2020 collection, recreating the stunning visual impact of the original open dial design combined with an all-new electrostatic energy movement. Time just changed again. The Accutron SpaceView 2020.
Scott, tell me about the worst hangover you ever had.
Oh, boy. Well, I've had more than one worst hangover, I think, in my life. The worst ones are where you actually can feel it the second day.
I'm really scared to agree with that. I have to tell you.
Yeah.
Although when I was in high school, or a little later than that, Shelley Whalen, I would say, was my worst one. When that breakup was bad, and that was a fifth of something that the next day I really thought I was going to die. But you're right. The older you get, it's the day after the day after.
You think you're doing yourself some kind of favor by being like, I deserve this, or I will feel better, or I will whatever. And then you almost immediately understand. It took me a very long time to realize this isn't going to make me feel better. Like, go ahead and do it to have some fun.
Brother, it takes a lifetime to learn that.
But as a relief of suffering, it is not a relief of suffering.
David, worst hangover you've ever had?
Oh, I'm a booze writer. I don't get hangovers. It's my job.
Well, actually, you have met our guest before, and
Indeed.
Well, this is the funny thing, and this is the first. I think we have all met our guest before.
Right, and he invented the world's first hangover prevention supplement. He won Beverage Innovation of the Year when that happened. This was about 10 or 15 years ago. I'm pretty sure I've run into this guy on the red carpets of some of the VMAs and Golden Globes and Oscars, because this was a big deal when it came out. And he says there are some certain nutrients you can use that will combat the bad things that are in alcohol. But what's interesting is he's pivoted his whole life away from tending bar and making drinks, and aligned himself with some chefs in some cases.
Wellness.
I met him back in the aughts, and he was a rep for Svedka Vodka, and promoting like, here's some cocktails that don't give you hangovers and things like this. And he has pivoted completely away from that. I don't even think he drinks anymore.
Right. He had a life-changing thing that happened to him, a plane that crashed that he walked away from. We'll talk to him about that. It created, I guess, kind of a rebirth for him, and he now has a family. And he's a very, very interesting guy. Alex Ott joins us today on the show to talk about everything from working with Formula One down in Florida and chefs down there for a special event he's doing in May, to try and reprogram our brains to react differently to the things we eat every day.
Using all natural components.
What he's always been interested in, even when he was back doing the booze stuff, was the power of plants and plants as medicine, right? You hear a lot about plant medicine, this or that. Botanicals, he's a bioscience guy, and he understands plants and botany and has always been using these things. And now it's sort of moving this. And it feels like it's one of these pieces. There's more and more of this happening where this ancient wisdom of plants is really being tapped in a way. People are listening to the plants a bit more than they have
Entire
in the past.
populations in countries that have lived for centuries without French fries, without a Big Mac.
Amazing
without,
what that'll do for your digestive system.
It's funny that you met him as a Svedka ambassador. I met him as an Absolute Elix ambassador, where his focus was on molecular cocktails.
Right.
And I will remember he served a cocktail that was entirely caviar-inspired, and the entire drink was, in fact, little orbs of frozen...
Little agar.
That you
yeah,
drank.
it was agar
sort of-
and Absolute Elix.
No, he served me. He made me absinthe, an absinthe preparation that was one of the most remarkable things I've ever tasted. I mean, he's truly a gifted guy when it comes to
Senses.
flavors, scents, and sensory experiences.
He's all about turning the world green, and the Accutron logo is green, so we're on board.
Oh yeah,
We're here for
This
it.
is synergy.
Alex Ott joins us right after this.
This podcast is presented by Accutron Watches. Visit our website, accutronwatch.com, and discover our Accutron DNA collection. Reimagined for a new generation, the Accutron DNA combines breakthrough technology, precise engineering, and modern aesthetics to achieve a new level of technical excellence. The Accutron DNA, the new face of time for those who blaze new trails.
Alex Ott, welcome to the Accutron Show. I feel like we're in the lair there with you. People listening to this can't see it. There are 1,000 or 2 bottles behind you, and you are the biochemist, and we're looking at your laboratory, basically.
You're looking at where the ideas start, yeah.
And let's talk about that. What does influence you? Whether it's a drink or an aroma, or what drives a biochemist when he is out looking for the next new thing?
Well, I wouldn't say regular biochemists do what I do, but I have always sort of, just to give you a quick background of why I ended up doing these drinks, and now I'm in health and wellness, and everybody gets confused. And that sort of has to do with all your other questions that I sort of, sneaked up about. But I always infused science into drink making, and I quickly separated myself from the average, let's say, handlebar mustache and suspenders kind of a mixology guy, because I was never a mixologist. People just kept calling me that. And I was, hugely misunderstood, because I said, like, hey, you can hang out for 10, 11 hours without getting hammered. There's, not a rocket science to it. We do that too. But I developed a specific ritual to make you not have a hangover. And that included ingredients and molecules and scents and extracts that are normally found in every pantry, at home, but just you need to know how to put it together. So I've infused these drinks for, 30 plus years. So you can drink and enjoy many of them. And while the acetaldehyde gets literally destroyed by all these ingredients, it prevents 2 diseases, which is Visalgia, the medical term for hangover, and the glutamine rebound, which is when you go to bed drunk and you wake up after 4 hours and you don't know why you're awake all of a sudden. Right. It's your body telling you, hey, you're dying because you're depleted of every nutrient, vitamin, and mineral you've ever had. And I knew what to do in order to work with flavors, because I worked on fragrances before, and infused it all into one cocktail. So I gave the cocktail 5 different functions. Why do I drink it in the first place? What is it supposed to do by smell already? Neurotransmitter output, empathic or empathogenic properties, and then obviously the flavor, And that was always very new for people, because I worked only with fresh ingredients. And, I was the first guy with a muddle stick in Manhattan. So, making 6,000 caipirinhas every night. And yes, that turned into psychotherapy for alcoholics in Manhattan nights, if you want, because people are not, we don't have alcoholics in Manhattan. It's just like people only have like 12, 13 drinks a day, which is normal, and it's New York, and it's the biggest culinary hub in the world. So I was really happy to be the shrink of Manhattan, and say like, hey, you have problems, I have something, I can fix that for you, without even having, anything to do with mixology or, the history of the cocktail. I simply applied flavor chemistry and olfactory neuroscience into drinks, and then added vitamins to it, the natural way. And that caught on to people. Obviously, you have 100% return customer rate, and you have no hangovers the next day.
Alex,
everybody wins,
as interviewers and as journalists, we're constantly on a quest to help understand people. And you are a biochemist, you are a mixologist, you are a perfume maker. Can you distill your essence to us? For someone who's being introduced to you to the first time, how would you describe yourself? What is the through line to you?
Yeah, that's where the problem comes in, because there's no title I can put on a business card. And I've survived many horrible things in my life, and they all ended up teaching me about certain things and important things in life. And I grew up. That's the big difference that I did. I instilled this into health because I wanted to help other people eventually. And I see that some people still self-destruct, and they seem to enjoy it because their pleasure circuitry of the medial forebrain bundle, it's called, is out of whack because you're addicted, and you can't stop eating for pleasure, and dopamine, and gambling, and anything else that salt, fat, sugar being the most addictive substances on earth, and drugs. I literally realized that we have a problem. So that's how I ended up here, to say hey, I'm sort of an educator,
Do people want help? Do people want to have a healthier drink when they go out, or has this been an uphill battle for you?
Well, the battle was first to educate people about what a hangover is. That's where it starts, because it's a disease that's preventable 100%. I mean, if I wasn't charging for it, I would say money back guarantee. But there's a specific substances, 5 of them, literally minimal, and everybody can get them everywhere. You have to take before you can go to bed. That's the most important part, and that's how it is. Hangover is a disease, can be prevented, and that was the most important part of the whole game, to be able to prevent everybody's hangover, no matter how much they had to drink. Not to enable people to drink more alcohol, but to say, just in case you had too enough, your body doesn't get affected in a carcinogenic way, because alcohol to the body is the same as smoking, because it gets broken down to the same chemical like acetaldehyde.
Has this been put into a product? Can you see hangover cures in drugstores and stuff, but they all tend to be a little bit snake oily,
Yeah.
Has this been productized?
There's a big shift that's happening right now through pharma and plant medicine and whatnot. So in order to teach people about this, you have to first, explain to them how easy it is. And then you have to put it into a product that we did, not specifically for hangover prevention, but that's what it did. That was the side effect of, a nutraceutical health beverage we created back in the day. And it was in every deli, it was in every diner, it was in every bottle service, in every nightclub in New York. And it was a wonderful substance because it enabled you not to get sniffles and flus and, all these other respiratory infections to begin with. And our main ingredient was an essential amino acid. And that was sold for 50 plus years, all over the world, and people were supplementing with it until recently the FDA said, hey, we have to make this a drug, It's a little,
what is that amino acid?
It's called NAC, N-acetylcysteine.
Okay.
And it basically combined with the thiamine mononitrate with vitamin B1, it literally naturally makes your body produce glutathione, which is your body's biggest antioxidant. And that is the key in hangover prevention, to get the acetaldehyde out of your system before it can give you 2 diseases, the glutamine rebound. That's when you're wide awake all of a sudden after 4 hours. And then also the Asian flush, the red cheeks when people drink alcohol. You can prevent all of this. And people just simply don't know, because it hasn't made its way out there how simple it is. But anybody can prevent the hangover. There's also a quicker way to do that, which is eat 2 bananas before you go to sleep. I know it's really difficult to do, but it contains pretty much 4 out of those 5 ingredients that were in this product.
2 bananas.
And it's
not in the daiquiri, but after the daiquiri.
Correct. And then we can straight go to the hair of the dog, which is also a myth. But I don't know if you guys want to talk about alcohol the whole night here?
No. We got a lot.
You launched a plant-based supplement, Ka?
Oh, that's correct. Yeah. The first one was a couple of decades ago. It was called Mercy, and we've had we made a big splash globally with this thing. But then the FDA came and wrote a letter to everyone and says like, hey, you can use this specific ingredient in your beverage
Yeah,
anymore.
you put a little heroin in something, and they just jump down your throat.
And and all of a sudden, an essential amino acid becomes a drug. Obviously, you can still get it from vitamin companies, but in order to educate people about their own body chemistry, it's in general very difficult to do because people have a short attention span, and they don't have the necessary knowledge to go deeply into their genetics on a molecular basis, and that's what I've done with myself first. And the path that led me to doing what I do, which is more kind of like a, if you want to say, T-shaped guy or Renaissance man, coming to one of the other questions, is I've done many things professionally that I really, was very, very good at. But this seems to be the one that people want me to stick with. Sort of like a Sherlock Holmes meets House MD, scary kind of guy, just be able to look at you and say like, hey, that's what's going on with you, and give me 28 days or so to work on your gut down there. And then all of a sudden, you can make suggestions of what to stop eating, what to start eating, and all of a sudden, miraculously, your skin conditions disappear. So sometimes there's a priming period involved in this before it can do this mood uplift, because it goes towards inflammation first. Because if you're a particularly big guy, or you have dietary problems, drink alcohol, smoke cigarettes, there's a lot of inflammation going on in your body. So it will go towards the histaminic productions first before it can do the mood uplift.
It reminds me, when you talk about it this way, saying it comes from Africa, it helps with cravings, all these things, I can't help but think of iboga. Is it? It's not. It sounds iboga. Yeah,
iboga is a bark extract that's extremely illegal here in the United States,
right?
And it's one of the other master plants, sacred herb, just like canna, just like cannabis, just like ayahuasca and San Pedro, and like all these other amazing plants. It's just a matter of time before people realize how powerful they are. Iboga has been specifically used for addiction. Canna in South Africa has specifically been used for alcohol abuse and also addiction, because it unplugs you, because it docks on many receptors at the same time, from 5-HT, PDE4, opioid, nicotine, alcohol, amphetamines. So if you're hooked on any of these prescription drugs, it takes only 3 tries of this chew.
Wait, so
it tells your brain and sets you back to factory settings.
Is this canna in Kai?
Yes.
Oh, it's canna.
And so it's canna. So it's a succulent plant. There's also lavender in here. There's also acmella, which gives it an intense tingle. It's an Amazonian plant that we include. It also is acacia, which comes from Senegal. We put this all into this matrix at room temperature, handmade, into a chew that goes into this pack. And you put it in your mouth and it works immediately, and it lasts all day. And that's the beauty of it. And the testimonials that we've received so far are absolutely mind-blowing, because it does different things for different people. And it's sort of like this too good to be true, herb that's out there. But hey, it's been around for only 3 millennia, medicinally speaking.
Alex, it seems like so much of what you do involves experimentation and recombining different things and taking older things and combining with new things. Something that's been happening lately is they've trained these computer models to take these large, first they were playing chess, then they were playing Go, and now they're making whole sentences and artworks and computer
writing
programming.
Papers for my daughter at college.
One of the things those models do is combine a lot of different stuff and look for patterns. Do you feel like this could be an interesting adjunct to what you do, or are you worried at all that these are coming for your job?
You talking about AI?
Yes.
Correct.
I've worked with an AI model recently that scared the hell out of me. And it was writing poems, that you've given. It was doing all kinds of problem solving. But I also realized that AI is only 90% accurate, and human beings are 99% accurate. You could give AI an image of, a dog and a cat wearing each other's clothes, and the human being would 99% figure out that, these images are cats or dogs. AI couldn't do that. There's also a nuanced way of language understanding that AI, it depends on who's programming these things too.
Sure.
And it could be very beneficial in asteroid tracking, I think, and in, disease cures as well, because if you have a humongous library of, medicinal things connected to specific things, it could be very helpful to evaluate a file of a patient in microsecond rather than like
Right.
taking a week to take apart. We kind of have this danger of digitizing ourselves so much that we're losing all connection to the universe, which already has happened, obviously, and the oneness that we once possessed. I mean, for me, my mission, just to give you a straight answer, is to restore full spectrum aliveness in every human being.
But eventually get back to our gut, our health, and turn what started for you in a journey at a bar into helping people feel better, look better, function better. And I want to talk more about that and the almost life-altering thing that happened to you and by the way, if you turn our camera around, there's green behind us. It's Accutron green. This is the Accutron Show. We'll take a brief break and we'll be right back with Alex Ott. This podcast is presented by Accutron Watches. Accutron is proud to bring back the 1968 T version of the iconic astronaut model, featuring a distinctive day-night bezel and limited to 300 timepieces. Visit our website, accutronwatch.com, to learn more. Welcome back to the Accutron Show. We are with Alex Ott, a man who an article in Lampoon magazine defined as a Renaissance man, a scientist, and a humanist at the same time, a philosopher, chemist seasoned in the matters of molecules as well as the soul. It's a very encouraging, uplifting Accutron Show. And thank you for rejoining us, Alex.
Thank you.
You were talking about working with some chefs. We mentioned Massimo before the break. Do you have a favorite person that you've worked with, and do they have a favorite drink of yours?
Well, I will get in trouble if I pick any favorites, right? I adore Alex Ott. It's a chef I worked with last time. He's indigenous to the Amazon, so he knew a lot about what I was infusing into my, elixirs and science, and we had a big understanding of nature because he's a hunter, he's a fisherman. He, has a ritual of when he kills his prey, and it's very refreshing to see that someone can work with plants in a way that he can. And obviously everything is terroir based, but Bottura too, the things what he did with Parmesan cheese and, helping out after earthquakes. None of these people I've worked with that are favorite or famous chefs, and my favorite chef is my mom. Oh. That's my immune system right there. And luckily she knew about food and plants and botany. So I was set, I was lucky, and a lot of people are not lucky, but Alex Ott was one of the guys that really impressed me in the industry, if you can call it industry, because none of these chefs ever wanted to become chefs on television. They all have different backgrounds, and just like James Cameron, he went from truck driver to most famous director ever. Mm-hmm. Same with me. I was a pro surfer. Can tell you, and I went to so many professions, from storyboarding to cocktails to biochemical molecular biology and such. So like people, of course they get confused. So when they meet me, they're like, okay, so that's what you do. And I was like, no, that's not what I do. And that's why so many titles. And for meeting chefs, I've always adored that they also infuse their childhood into everything that they do. Memory evoking, olfactory bulb in your brain, memory and Alzheimer's. And I think about functional foods again. So the most functional foods that I've seen so far were from, similar chemists in Norway or whatever. But I think I can't answer that question of famous chef.
Could you tell us more about what we can anticipate from what you're doing in Miami for Formula One with Massimo?
No, I can't really divulge that because it's. I want you to be surprised.
Well, we can say it's called Once Upon a Kitchen. That's the title. It's called Once Upon a Kitchen.
Yes.
We can divulge that much, and it's happening sometime in May.
May 5th, I think. Yeah, or May 7th is the Grand Prix. So May 5th, and it's. I usually with the last one, I set up a little rainforest on the rooftop of the Symphony in Miami. And people were able to pick edibles out of trees, and there were fake insects everywhere, and you were able to go from station to station. Sort of like behind me here on the wall, there's 2 posters of that event actually, and I've been sort of everybody who comes to a party is in a different mood. they don't all want to party straight away going into that. Someone had a fight with their wife, or they had to find parking for 5 hours, or they have legal problems, and it's in their mind, and they need something to chill them out, because everybody needs that, and that's why I also give my car supplement to so many personalities and celebrities for red carpet fear, social anxiety. Like everybody's like that, and it's a very interesting way to see people all fall into their moods, and you can balance everything out, because someone is having problems with the hormones, and you go to this station, specifically women, and I make this drink that's made with gin. Gin was, invented for this, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so when you use specific spirits and specific elixirs with specific flavors and ingredients, you can eliminate and alleviate certain issues that people bring to this party. Depression, anxiety, biggest one. So people always go there first until they chill out, and then they, take the upper in order to mingle, and then do something else that's sensorial, or something that's party, or whatever it wants to do. You're sort of directing it chemically speaking. And if you can see that, for instance, there was a charity that is now the biggest global water charity that I've worked with. They would mainly hire me because people just, for their charity balls on Christmas, silent auctions, I would literally make people more spendable, euphoric, right. So you would spend more money on silent auctions.
Relax
right?
them so they can make some really
and that was
decisions.
something to me where I'm like, wow, now I can do all kinds of themes, sex, death, and the Blue Lotus, or I Dream of Mars, or the 50th anniversary of the moon landing. So where I fill the room with edible fog, and then they come in, and then you have all kinds of other things, and music and scent. So it's all the senses that you get from me when you go into an event. It's not just drinks. It's magic. And that's what people like about it, because they're being transported back into their childhood. And the more personal these events get, and I tend to love smaller ones, 5-10 people, because you can fill out questionnaires a month before, and then I can create edible soap bubbles with, fogs inside that you inhale, just for his childhood, not the other ones. Every single person there has his own fog machine and its own soap bubble machine when they come in. They go through this Alice in Wonderland tunnel popping bubbles, and they don't react until they pop their own, and then they start crying, and that's what happens just before they already come into the event. And then it's a 2-hour storytelling. So it's not just here's the drink and do whatever you want. The drinks sort of speak for themselves, because they exactly do what they should do, is to get people to one level, to create an interconnectedness and a oneness, and you can do that with plant extracts and alkaloids just as much as you can do with other things.
So Alex, these events that you do, these experiences, they sound amazing. Have you ever thought about creating a single location where you can do this sort of night after night and allow more people to kind of know when these things are happening and get to a place where they can experience it?
I've had a couple of places, not in this country, in Germany. And I've had my own show there, and did the whole thing. And I was rather more happy to do 300 beverage menus globally, to know every owner globally, to know every busboy globally, to be able to walk in a restaurant and get a free dinner everywhere I fly. So for me, that was more important. And that's why I met more people and more cultures that way. I wouldn't have time to stand behind a place or being inside of a place.
Right. You prefer to be on the move, it sounds like.
Of course. I mean, that enables you to travel a lot, although getting on an airplane for me is a very horrible thing to do.
Yeah, let's talk about that. What happened with you in airplanes?
I was a lucky guy that switched a ticket with another guy to get on an earlier flight. And I lived in Thailand working on storyboarding a movie. And I was dating an actress that was part of that film. And we broke up, and a day afterwards, I boarded a Thai Airways flight, and that flight crashed into a rubber plantation, and sort of changed my life around yet again, because I went from the film industry at that point straight to New York City afterwards to open up Sushi Samba. And that was, one of the other chains that we've worked on before. Svetka stole me, and, did now the biggest vodka brand in the States, and then, Tom Ford and all these other guys. And then I went into flavor industry. That's how I ended up doing what I do, is formulating nutraceutical health beverages and then formulating for other people. That's it. But it
So
was a
that
pilot
felt like
error,
that was a
you know.
rebirth in a way, a
It
re-examination
gave
of
me
your whole life.
sort of a new sense of life, and saying like, hey, this wasn't an accident. This is like the things that I've survived in my life. Terminal illness, accidents. I went through a cab window in New York. I had surfing accidents. I had malaria and dual kidney failure. Like, people can't get that lucky, literally.
You had malaria
sort of like,
and kidney failure?
well, the kidney failure was caused by malaria. I went to do renal failure when I was 30, and I ended up on the couch of my best friend and / doctor in Huntington, Long Island, and he saved me. He's like, why does this guy have a creatinine level of 5.6 and has the worst pain ever? And within 3 weeks, that's when I decided to, it's time for my body to do something. 8 years ago came another sort of blow. When I was diagnosed with glioblastoma. And after that, terminal, after I went into remission, I started doing biohack talks and pharma talks. And that's when people sort of paid attention to what I do now in the microbial field of gut biome health and fungal extracts and, plant extracts. And after that, this is what you see behind me, is literally inventing nutraceutical beverages and chewables and things that don't exist yet. So what I just created with the car, that was the first of its kind material that has been invented out of these 6 plants mixed together to create a chew that you can't really do because you're not allowed to use all of the ingredients that other people were allowed to. But yeah, the plane crash changed everything. And now that I fly frequently, right after came soldier work in Fort Monmouth. As I said, I unplugged a lot of soldiers there from their medications. I was on medication for a long time, and that was the only way to get me back on an airplane. Svedka Vodka actually was the first company that made me fly for the first time after my plane crash. And they're like, there's this new airline called JetBlue, and their pilots are getting paid really, really well because they have 15 years of military experience first. So you need to, fly down to Fort Lauderdale and work for, sort of things. And Svedka was a company that flew me to 600 different restaurants, from cheesecake factories to wherever, to literally bring cocktails on their menu. And once Svedka got their cocktail on there, they were automatically in 600, locations. So in the first year, we sold over 1 million cases. They made billions of dollars, and that to me was very new, where I went from like movies to surfing to this. And now, what should I do with this? And then I met my business manager, and he's one of the founders of UTA. And he came to my house with Gwen Stefani's bass player, Tony. And he said, I kind of want to rep you. I kind of want to, represent you. And I was like, well, what do you want to do me? How are you going to promote me? And then we ended up doing these events, and I said, okay, I could do this too.
You're doing a lot. You're doing a tremendous amount. And Alex Ott, it is a pleasure to have had you on the Accutron Show today. We have learned that we need to be on Kai, that if we're going to...
Ka, it's called Ka.
Ka.
It's a little exclamation mark.
We need to be on Ka. And we will look forward to that. It is a pleasure to meet someone who's so invested now in helping the rest of the world understand what's wrong with them and help them live better lives. And I feel healthier just talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alex.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to The Accutron Show. To listen to all of our shows, visit accutronwatch.com. To learn more about the world of Accutron, follow us on Instagram at AccutronWatch and subscribe to our podcast. From New York City, until next time, Accutron time.